Cassandra had gotten the hang of working around soups of all kinds, but for a bartender, I needed someone who could also act as bouncer when I wasn't around. Peter the Giant did a good job, but he worked days, and I was hiring for the night shift. I probably should hire a second bouncer while I was at it, but since I worked a majority of evenings in the bar, I usually covered the void. Smart people didn't mess with vampires, and most of my regulars had quickly learned not to cross me. She nodded. Yeah, but I'm not sure what kind. He has an odd feel. The look on her face told me that either he made her nervous, or he was just so strange that she didn't know what to make of him. Cassandra was, I had discovered, fairly psychic for an FBH, full-blooded human, and she picked up on things easily. Send him in. I turned to Nerissa. Sweetie, you mind giving me a little privacy to interview him? No problem. You sure you want to talk to him alone, girl? She stroked my cheek with her fingers. I can stay. I can tear apart 90% of the creatures I meet if they bother me. Don't forget that I'm a vampire, sweetheart. Never, ever forget it. I took her hand, holding it for a moment. I loved her dearly, and because of that, I never wanted her to forget I was a dangerous predator. It was my nature, and I accepted it, and at times reveled in it. I never do, she whispered softly, then followed Cassandra out of the room, her skirt swishing in a way that drove me crazy. I wanted to slip my hands under the hem, to run them up her golden thighs. For so long, after Dredge had gotten through with me, I'd repressed my sexuality. But Nerissa had woken it up, full steam ahead, and there was no putting the gin back in the bottle. I put my feet on the floor and straightened the papers on my desk. Inventory time was heading full throttle toward us. We were coming up on the end of the year, and I needed to do a full accounting of everything in the bar. I was also preparing to open the Wayfarer to overnight travelers. We'd cleaned out the rooms upstairs, redecorated and sanded and painted, and now I had space for 7 guests, with 3 communal bathrooms. But opening to overnight guests meant hiring a maid. I'd also have to find someone to run room service, carry bags, and in general take care of the needs of our Otherworld patrons. For the most part, that was who I expected to see. I already had decided that I wouldn't rent to goblins, ogres, or anybody likely to cause trouble. Since the Wayfarer technically belonged to an OW resident, me, it was considered sovereign territory. I could discriminate for whatever reason I wanted. And letting creeps and miscreants stay in the bar wasn't my idea of equal opportunity, especially not when my sisters and I were waging a demonic war. The door opened, and a man cleared the archway. As I glanced at him, looking him up and down, I found myself suitably impressed. I had no doubt the man could chuck people out of the bar. Brawn he had, that much was clear. He only stood 5'8", but his biceps were works of art, and his thighs looked strong enough to crack a skull. His hair, jet black with a white streak, was held back in a thick ponytail, hitting about mid-shoulder. It set off eyes as green as my sister Delilah's. He looked to be around his mid-30s, but if he was soup, who knew how old he really was? And that was the second thing. Soup he was. I could tell right off that he wasn't human. This dude had some seriously powerful energy rolling off him. Even I, about as head-blind as you could get for someone half-Fae, could feel it. How do you do? I'm Menolly d'Artigo, and you are? I stood and walked around the desk. Compared to my 5'1", he seemed tall, but I could take him out without blinking an eye. One of the perks of being a vampire, exceptional strength that belied any lack of visible force. Motioning him to a chair, I hopped up to sit on the corner of my desk. Derek Means. He took the chair and leaned back, eyeing me closely. You look like a vamp, he said. I blinked. Nobody had ever said that to my face, but what the hell?